I'm that girl who is a second wave volunteer, and I didn't know what that meant when it started coming out in the sessions that I was. And so I experienced doing other things and then getting the call that Gaia needed help. And that call was sort of sent out to the universe, and anyone that wanted to support Gaia and wanted to support those souls that are on this planet who were needing to be helped to advance, to evolve, to be more compassionate and caring towards each other and get a wriggle on with this 3D experience. Many souls chose to sign up to be doing certain support on the ground, living these bodies, living in these lives, living in these bodies, and being here to be able to connect in more, to not have traumas from other lifetimes that were sort of holding us down dense in density, and energetically being able to hold a lot more frequency because we don't have that density to start with. And we all sort of had, I think the first wave volunteers just were sort of programmed to just be love and light. And that is fantastic, but they weren't supported to just be love and light. In fact, they kind of got a little bit taken off path of being just love and light when they were deeply impacted very energetically by the density here. And they didn't seem to be able to know how to empower themselves to be love and light. And so many of them chose exit points that were very soon. And it was quite a shock because these were the biggest evolved souls that were here to totally help. It was going to be easy, right? That's what we all sort of thought as those first wave volunteers planned for their lifetimes here. And it didn't go to plan because we just couldn't factor in how tremendously indoctrinated and ingrained societies were to not empower themselves, to not empower each other, and to comply, 100% comply to the mainstream narratives of everything, not speaking your truth and a whole lot of stuff. So it became very impossible, hence why the second waivers needed to come. And it was challenging. So the second waivers came. They knew that they needed to empower themselves. They knew that they needed to see very clearly where the density was, where the disconnect was, where the manipulation was. And they could intuitively know from a very young age that there was deceptions. Now we know that teachers teach what they are supposed to with their curriculums, but if the curriculums are wrong, the student will always have a disconnect with the content because they don't resonate with that truth or that significance, or they know that there is something much more important for them to focus on. Second wave volunteers are notoriously intelligent, extremely intelligent. They can read people's energy very well, and they are not needing to be schooled so much in education because they know the true purpose and meaning of life. And so they know that learning algebra is not going to be able to heal and save the world. They know that it should be more compassion and more consideration and more caring, more unity and communities. And so while the second wave volunteers are very intelligent, they usually end up being in service fields because they need to be ground level, not fighting the rat race to be complete ultimate consumers. In fact, often second wave volunteers have almost like a poverty clause, because if they start seeking and searching for money, they completely lose their purpose and mission. Yes, money can be fantastic and money can buy you comforts and luxuries, but it cannot feed the soul and it cannot empower yourself if you're distracting yourself. And so it is very common for second wave volunteers to be working in industries that have got a lot of people and they are connecting into a lot of people. They're not often isolated, which is purposeful because they hold such big amounts of energy storage opportunities. So they have to be out there to absorb a lot of that density and to transmute it. unfortunately, they don't know how to transmute it, and they start thinking there's something wrong with them. So moving back a little bit, this is for everyone. So this isn't just for the second wave volunteers, but around the age of 7 to 8, that is when your spiritual teams really have to step back for you to start really truly empowering yourself, and you aren't so likely to trip over things and kill yourself as little children do. So your teams are really focused on you in a younger age. You've got your 3D human appearance there helicoptering you, and so you also have your guides, and they are still very much with you, and children can really sense the guides there. They can really sense so much that's going on around them, but as they get older and older and older, that is pulled away from their attention and their scope and their senses to focus on the physical lifetimes. There is people that are fully aware of more other dimensions and energies and all this stuff. And again, that's very purposeful. But it can be very confusing if you don't know the significance and the purpose of why you're still very connected to all realms. That is when you start being labeled schizophrenic or a whole lot of other things that really don't serve you. So what that suddenly feels like and looks like for that 7 to 8-year-old is suddenly questioning, why am I here? Who am I? What is going on here? And they almost have a really strong sense of identity crises because they feel very alone, because suddenly all these other senses have gone. They're out of their sense reach. They haven't left them, but they're trying to distance themselves from it. So around 7 to 8 is a very sensitive time for a child to sort of feel really left here. And they don't identify with their parents being their parents, even though they know, yes, you're my mum and dad, blah, 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 blah. They have this sense within them, there is something more. And it confuses them and makes them feel very scared, confused, and a whole lot of stuff. And this is why it seems that the second wave volunteers are usually born to first wave volunteers. The first wave volunteers needed so much support to remember to love themselves, to empower themselves, to be the love and light. Instead of having this attitude that you're here to be a gift to humanity and humanity should worship you, you actually need to be able to be of service to humanity and be that gift to humanity for then humanity to be able to appreciate you, and that will only occur after the shift and the evacuation. So there's so much to be said about that, so it's challenging. So the second wavers came in with a little bit more insight into what went wrong for the first wavers. Of course, I've met some fantastic first wavers. Absolutely, I have. And, the struggle was real too. So, I can understand how it can feel so isolating. And so for the second wavers, around that, I think for most people, around the 7 to 8 ages, is quite a challenging one because you're so attuned to everything. And part of being able to be such a compassionate, caring, loving being, you have to be super sensitive to all of the emotions and everything that's going around you. And so for that first sort of our childhood, we're very sensitive. And this can be, we can be put down because of our sensitivity. Not only can we read people, so we know if we're being lied to or deceived or a whole lot of stuff. So remember, we're not victims to that. We're being trained to empower ourselves, to trust our senses, to see we were right, trust senses over face value, people's statements to us, messages to us, blah, 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 right? We're supposed to have those very challenging childhoods to empower ourselves, to be taught and to train ourselves to really trust ourselves. To be able to not have such challenging experiences. And if we dismiss our intuition, we will keep getting very challenging experiences so we can focus and notice. So there's that. So it is It is very challenging to feel deeply into other people's energy fields. It's not just people, it's animals. Usually we naturally cannot ingest meat. We just cannot emotionally do it because we feel the trauma of that animal in the meat memory. Energetically, we just know this is not right. And it can really struggle with us, especially if, we're in a big meat eating family and we get criticized for not eating something that morally we know we just can't do it, and it will make us feel physically sick. And so we sort of, as soon as we become more independent with what we can eat, when we sort of like separate ourselves from, leaving home, we usually want to just focus on what feels good for us. Right. And the more that we can be independent, the more we can be in control of what feels good for us. And along our journey, we were supposed to empower ourselves to know what's good for self and to respect everyone else's choices and stuff, but really deeply respect our own, and not sort of feel that we have to comply to other people because we're not other people. And so, there's that. And so we're very sensitive, as I said, and we can tell that there is something not right here. And it can be quite common for a second waver, if they're really honest with themselves, to say, there is a sadness here. There is a common sadness here. And while we're supposed to feel joyful to be here and that we understand life is a blessing and a gift and love is the key and all that really good stuff, we know that the frequency vibrations that we're used to is not here, and we are longing for it. We are thirsty for it. We are craving source life energy. It is our crack. I'm an addict. I love source energy. It is so profound. It will make me cry because it just feels so good. It just feels like the most purest, nurturing, loving, supportive feeling ever. And when I even think about it, it makes me want to cry because it's just so good. It's so good. Anyway, so second wave volunteers. So anyway, we're supposed to be able to go and do lots of things and be really, really, really social to be able to help uplift, because when we naturally have a really high frequency vibration, and we actually can transmute energy really fast, and we contain a lot. Our energy field is very, very, very big. And so if we don't know how to release that density, often we'll become like the runners, or, have to go out into nature or something, right? We will naturally do the things that we need to do to transmute and to release their energy. Some people get stuck though, and they think, I am just so dense. I'm so dense. I'm so depressed. There's something wrong with me. I'm so depressed. I don't want to see the world, feel the world. I'm going to be a shut-in because I cannot feel this anymore because something's wrong with me. That is the saddest, because there is nothing wrong with you at all. You're fucking fantastic, and never forget it. But there is something wrong with this planet, right? We all know that. And there is something wrong with the density of these beings who are here, who are constantly choosing to not empower themselves, to disconnect themselves from love and hold on to density, which will look like a lot of victim mode, trauma, tragedy, dramas, disempowerment, dishonesty, disintegrity, disinformation. They love all that stuff. They're addicted to that sort of stuff. So when we are energy conduits for this density, we will absorb all of it, and it's not ours. We're just the cleaners. We're just the cleaner of those sponges, and we're just the dishwashers. And so we energetically, they magnetize to us because they love our frequency. Love it. They are like moths and we're the flame. And so they love us, and they want to be with us in our energy fields. And as an exchange, we absorb their density. So they feel lighter, and we feel denser and denser and denser. And so lots of people suddenly notice that they have got social anxiety. They say yes to events, and then they just start feeling as it gets closer and closer and closer to the time, oh, I can't do it. I'm out. I'm out. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And they don't understand why they don't want to do it. They don't want to be at those events. And those times they've been pushed and coerced to go to those events, they've had a blast. They love it. And they still can't understand why they had that profound resistance. And so what is happening there is energetically, we're already thinking about being in that location, being around those people, and we're already absorbing that density from that event. Remember, time is not linear. And so we're already feeling into the energy of the room, the energy of those people, and we're already starting to absorb all of that energy from them for them, right? And so we're already feeling quite overwhelmed with all of this density, and we haven't even got to the event. And so we're like, oh gosh, I'm out, I'm out, I'm out. And then you feel really guilty because you know you're supposed to be there, and you sort of don't quite understand what's wrong with you because you just don't want to be this social butterfly, even though you like those people, you respect those people, they're nice people, but you just have this magnet to like resistance to do it. So then you're sitting there feeling terrible about yourself that you're not going in your comfortable pants, not feeling terrible about that, and comfortable shoes, loving them, right? So, you know, we're sort of making all these justifications of, oh, well, why we didn't attend, but you're still feeling into them and still working through all of their density. They're still thinking of you, you're still thinking of them, and you're still working through that density and transmuting the density. But you take it on as if there is something wrong with you. Oh, my anxiety, I couldn't do it because of my anxiety. So we're labeling ourselves, and we're not understanding the purpose and significance of us being energy conduits. And so, of course, when they think of us, they get a high. They love it. They love thinking of us and wanting to be with us. And so they'll keep inviting us to these things, and eventually we'll go sometimes. But it's so exhausting for us because it's like energy wise, we're just eating massive density pies, right? That smorgasbord of emotions and energy is all on us, and we have to take time to process it and release it. And so when we're still thinking this density is mine, I'm an asshole, I'm antisocial, I have social anxiety, I'm depressed. The depression you're feeling is the density of this planet and the density of those people, and they are compressing on you, they're densifying you to become depressed. And so you're having to try and release that and uplift yourself with it. This is why drinking lots of water will uplift you. And this is why loving yourself and knowing nothing is wrong with you. If you suddenly get this wave of aggression or anger or something, you know, truly naturally, we're very easy go people, right? We're quite happy to just be alone and just be able to, you know, get on with our days and kind of, you know, do our little bit for our lives and for the people that are in our lives. And we're good with that, right? We're not often, you know, big show ponies. We don't necessarily need any attention. We're quite happy to be just humbly working here with our energy fields. And so it's really important for us to understand how to ground ourselves. But if you have this sudden wave, and so you're just driving along the car and, you know, you go past another car and then suddenly you feel this wave of this density, you could try to associate, God, I feel angry right now, blah, 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 blah. What's wrong with me? But ultimately, you've just gone through someone else's density field and you're just picking up what they're doing. So, you know, this is important. This is how they say be the light bearers. You know, what we're talking about is, you know, the energy bearers, and we're trying to, you know, remove the density from these people. We can't remove the density from this planet. We would love to. It's gone. That opportunity is way gone, way gone. And so we're here on the ground, and we are uplifting as many people as we can because we have already honored ourselves, loved ourselves, and we keep questioning when we have those weird waves of emotion. Is this my energy? Is this me suddenly? Because I'm very calm and neutral. So what is happening to me? I'm feeling this weird sense of tension and aggression. Is this mine? If it's not mine, release it, and it will instantly go. Remember, we can tell this energy to be now released. It no longer serves us. It never actually served us. It was actually just part of our contracts to be here to absorb this frequency. So because we are because we're so high vibrational, we can easily attract this density to us so we can transmute it. It's not a punishment. It's actually what you could call light worker duty. So there's that. So this is why if we are holding on to resentment, bitterness, judgment, and all these really negative things, we use up our capacity of our space to not be able to be of service, because we've already got our own crap. And so this is why they say, do your inner work, clean house, clean your emotional closet. So you're not able to just keep living your lives with a limited capacity to love others and love self. So you can see how it's very significant. And so then if you do go to those social events and you love it and it's fine and it's good and it was really great to see people and you could really hear and consider lots of people, but you're so empathic that you've felt into every trauma, everything that they've shared with you, the highs, but also a lot of the lows, and they can't understand why they're feeling so depressed themselves or struggling themselves or so afraid themselves, blah, 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 blah. They will because of our natural energy, they're very open to us. So often, we are in the service of listening to other people because we don't have this natural sense of judgment, because we've already experienced so much and we're so sensitive to so much experiences beforehand. We already know that, it's not nice to feel density. It's not nice to feel depression and stress and struggle. So we've already kind of mastered that ourselves, and we can really easily identify how much of a challenge it is when we're on this journey. But we appreciate that they're open to us and sharing with us, and we can deeply resonate with where they've been because we've had to experience it at some point in our lives. Often when we change jobs, schools, or locations to live, we will have bigger stresses and bigger new densities put on top of us because it's a new area that we're working through. And so everywhere that you live is very significant, and we're working on the energy grid and the energy field constantly, even when we're just, living our best Netflix lives and binge watching something. We're still keeping the energy and we're still working on the energy. This is why they keep waking us up, because we need to be consciously here holding the energy at a high frequency. And this is it is significant. There is no coincidences. So anyway, definitely ask in sessions what we do energy wise, because it's very important for them to be able to explain it to you better than this mansplain. So anyway, so we're here. We love humanity. We love humanity. We love Gaia so much, and we're here to be of service. And we love this, and we wouldn't ever begrudge humanity or Gaia for us being here, because we signed up here. We knew that we could be helpful if we chose to be helpful, and our subconsciouses all hoped that we would choose right and not let the experiences of our lives sort of disempower us and break us emotionally, just so we could, lose hope and faith. And this is why I think we're so easily able to connect in to our teams, because they really need us to have focus and faith and trust, and to remember our purpose and all that stuff, right? And also remember that while this is really our first lifetimes here, we may have had a few walk-in lifetimes with other beings on Earth just to kind of check it out, right? So we didn't have full lifetimes here, but other people who read your Akashic records or something may get a sense that you were aware or had some experiences in like Atlantis or Egypt or something, right? All sort of purposeful, but you were not born in that lifetime. You did not die in that lifetime. You were a little walk-in to have a little bit of a taste tester experience before you had your full physical lifetime here. Sometimes it's imprints, but sometimes it's little walk-in experiences with other beings, remembering one vessel can hold many soul essences within it, right? So potentially, we've been walk-ins, and I know for myself, I have got a component of a walk-in, probably many, and often, who knows, right? I don't care. I just know that I'm here to be of service, and I know my purpose. So, I'm not focused on the details of it, but I definitely know that we're Arcturian, and I've got tremendous respect for my connections because they're very helpful, and I love that. But part of the soul essence that came into me had some baggage from other lifetimes, right? So he's working through his karma through living with me in my life. Sounds weird, right? Because I very much know who I am, but I also have this separation of understanding his life. I haven't explored all his other lifetimes here and all this sort of stuff, but I respect that whatever he's doing, whatever we've been guided to experience, this is very purposeful and significant for him. And, that's fine. It's cool. It was strange to discover that in sessions that I had a walk in, but it wasn't necessarily a walk out as such. But it's still the soul the soul is still here and ever present, but the consciousness is matching and reaching up to understand more of the significance and purpose of the souls being here, right? So it gets really complicated, but nothing to worry about. I'm not possessed, and neither are you. It is just we need more energy, more support here, and this is the time to do it. So it's significant. And, not every soul wants to have the birth-death cycle of experiences, right? They're busy. They've got other stuff to do. They may just want to support or see or feel into small little segments, and that is perfectly fine too. So you can understand the significance there. So it gets a bit complicated, but, explore your own sessions and figure out the significance of your walk-ins or walk-outs. It's very purposeful. So the other thing I wanted to say is if you have an accident, say for example, this client that I had, she was walking the dog, and the dog did not listen to her, naughty, and wrenched her arm and hurt her shoulder, right? And so, and she sort of says this pain comes and goes. And when she was telling me this, all I really heard was the dog wasn't listening to me. So I asked her, is this a repeat thing? Do people in your life not listen to you? And how does that feel, right? How does that feel when people don't listen to you? You don't feel respected, you don't feel heard, you don't feel appreciated or valued, blah, 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 blah. And most second wave volunteers don't just talk for the sake of talking. They actually have got great connections, and they're very, insightful, and, always looking at the bigger perspective of things versus, woe is me, life is hard. Even though we can be honest and say that there is a lot of sadness here. There are a lot of sadness, and people are really, really not able to connect in the density here that is deeply impacting them. So, if we have to start being honest about what we're seeing in these lives here, we can be, while we can still know that there is possibilities to have joy and empowerment and love and, inner peace and all this fantastic stuff. If we were to truly analyze all our friends energetically, there is quite a big core of a certain part of sadness, as they just know this is not how things should be. Okay, so anyway, so the dog wrenched her shoulder, and and this is what was, and so she knows that the body is a representation of something. And what's really eating at her and what's really irking her is she's not feeling as respected as she could be when she's sharing her great wisdom. And while she knows she can't do people's inner work, and she knows that, people may not be ready to hear her, she really needs to empower herself to know that she is very valuable. She is very wise. She is truly a gift to humanity. And, this is not what she deserves. And this is not how she should be respected. So if she can just heal herself knowing that, these things that are happening, it's not a personal attack on her. It's just the state of, where the dog's at, and where her children are at, and husband's at, and blah, 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 blah. Where's the world at, right? I mean, she should be fully respected and honored and cherished, and she really is. but there is some big statements that she is sharing intuitively, and they're just not able to hear it right now. It hurts her heart because she sees that they're making other choices that are very challenging. And if they just listen to her, their lives would be much easier, right? Sounds like our subconscious all the time, right? So there's that. So it is just reminding her that the responsibility, the weight of the world is on her shoulders, and she needs to just accept that the hurt that she is feeling is not her responsibility anymore. Humanity, while she's here to help, she can only sort of lovingly encourage and guide, but she cannot force them to listen. And she knows she should be respected. And so she has to understand she does the best she can. She shares everything that she can. She shares her truth. But when they get hurt because they don't respect or hear her, it's not her pain to hold. It is their lessons, their journey, their opportunities for growth, and it's really on them. But as parents, as you know, as very strong empaths, when we see people get hurt because they're going through a lesson and an experience for a significant purpose, we feel like it's happening to us and we hate it, and it's so upsetting and it hurts us. It pains us. Really pains us. And it's almost like a team of tapping her on the shoulder saying, stop, this is nothing to do with you. It's not a reflection on you. You have helped them so much. You have given them so much food for thought, so much guidance, so much examples of how to live, how to have bigger perspectives, all this fantastic stuff. Stop it. Stop torturing yourself because of their journey still. They're actually going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Stop hurting for them, because these are lessons. These are lessons. And while we do not want to see or feel or know these painful lessons and experiences that they're having, they must do it. So this second wave volunteer is new to the content, and the session was very, very strong in terms of what's happening with the shift. She got full visuals. She got to see the ships. She got to see everything. She got to see the new Earth. And it was, you know, what we expect in these sessions, right? And I think it was quite a lot. But when she came out of the session, this realization and this frustration of, we're supposed to raise our frequency vibrations, and we're supposed to be really high, and then we're going to have all this tragedy. Like, what the fuck? How can we, what is the point of trying to get our vibrations high just to just like destroy us and freak us out and put us into chaos and real pain and real horrible tragedy? And it just blew her mind. She was like, this is so ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. How could this possibly be? And she already had a message even before. I didn't even finish the script before she was already connecting in with her guides. And the very first thing she was told was, I am sorry. I am sorry. This is the way it has to be. And I wanted her to keep reminding herself of that when we are going through these hard experiences, because she will be having an old earth experience too, like every, you know, most of us, right? And so when we're still struggling to understand why would they do this? Why would they make us experience these really horrible experiences? Victim, 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 right? Can't see the purpose of it. But the biggest answer we can share is, if these lessons aren't learnt now, this will continue on. And what's happened here on this planet and what has happened to humanity can never, ever happen again anywhere. Ever. Ever. It is beyond ridiculous. But the lessons here are very purposeful. People must be traumatized to learn how it feels to have these horrible things happen for a significance, because they didn't want to wake up. They refused to wake up. They refused to love each other. So you have to have a profound, hideous, horrible tragedy. So you all are shocked to then be motivated enough to actually come together to actually care about each other enough to share and stop resentment or bitterness or competition or something. It's so extreme, the tragedies, that all you want to do is be with other people to support them, because you're just so in shock, and that people feel good to be able to support each other and hear each other and nurture each other and care about each other, because ultimately that's all you have. When you're on the old earth, you only have each other. And right now we're all distant neighbors. We're in a community, but we don't really do much, right? And so when you're going through these massive big tragedies and these big disasters, it motivates humanity to actually realize you're brothers and sisters. You're all one. You're all going through something full on, and together you will be able to support each other through it. But these lessons have to be learned, have to be. And while it's really painful and really traumatizing, it has to be like this, because if it wasn't, the lessons would not be learnt, and this would continue on for more planets, more lifetimes. It can't continue on. It cannot continue on. And those people who say, you know, the planet's beautiful, yes, she is. And your life is great, yes, it is. But when you remember how life really should be in a higher frequency without this density, you cannot compare these 3D lives to how we would be in our natural home planets. So a lot of people are still struggling to recognize the truth of the density here and the negative agendas here, and the way that actually, when you look at the bigger agendas and how it's really disempowering humanity, and we can all feel it, even though it doesn't look like it impacts our personal lives, you're still in denial about that. So I understand, you know, this is part of the Grand Awakening. And the Grand Awakening is understanding what's truly going on here, who truly controls this planet, why they really want to control this planet using their free will, and what's their own agendas. And it's not to empower most of humanity. So, you know, instead of going into fear and into victim mode, just see that this is a really significant time for everyone to learn or experience it, and then to be able to grow from it. Because while this planet's experience is coming to a close, we still all need to remember this for future experiences. New Earth is never going to get this dense. It cannot get this dense. It cannot hold any density, actually. But for other 3D lifetimes and experiences, it takes too much effort and energy and attention from our collectives to support life like this. And there are so much other things they want to do, so much other things they want to do. While we have this full range of emotions, there's actually other beautiful emotions that people and beings love to be in. So this is very challenging. We're not going to pretend it's not. And for those people who are intuitive enough and honest enough, they can feel and understand that sense of sadness, that things are not quite right. They don't quite can put their finger on it. And they can feel depression, but they don't understand why they feel depressed, because their lives, you know, that they're actually okay. You know, they can appreciate and be grateful for the things that they do have, because they know that many people have life much worse. But again, life contracts, so we can't really judge worse lifetimes, better lifetimes. But I really want you to all to just feel in honestly to what's going on here for you. And, you know, it is upsetting. It is 100% upsetting to know that we have to go through these experiences. But when we know the lessons and the purposes of it, it does unfortunately make sense. Ask-in sessions interns are free. And then the last thing I wanted to say to you today is, all right, so yes, people reached out to me and they're like, oh, it's strange that you're afraid of dead bodies. And I say, I'm not afraid of dead bodies. It's just, I can feel the emotional range that people feel, and I would feel when you're around a physical human body that has just departed, right? Because I can feel a whole lot of density from that body. So anyway, when I was at varsity, we did go to a mortician and, have some time with this mortician because it was death, dying, and religion. And we wanted to hear about, what the job of a mortician is. And she was really fantastic. She said that it was a real honor and a blessing to be able to nurture and wash and to prepare the bodies for the funerals. And she said that, it's weird, but she said that her favorites are the children because, she knows that the parents, she's taking on the body and looking after the body and caring for the body in the best of ways. And she's so compassionate to the vehicle that, she wants to just nurture and just give it this loving experience. And so, it was, I can be mature about it. And it certainly wouldn't be something I would want to do as a job. And also the grief is probably the most densest energy, right? It's kind of very close to fear, but grief is just, it's something else that resonates at a different frequency. And so being around people that are constantly grieving, would energetically be very challenging. I could do it, but it's certainly not something that I, am called to do. So, lucky me. But again, people can do that jobs because that is their life purpose and contracts. And when you actually do your life purpose and contracts, things are very easy. You're naturally able to do it. So yeah, I've certainly had a lot of pets in our lives that have passed, and family members that have exited as well. And so, I have seen them. I haven't been afraid of them, but it's just energy wise, there's just something different that I was trying to figure out yesterday, why I sort of had this hesitation to sort of like embrace and touch the body. Anyway, all is well. So yeah, I'm doing my inner work. I invite you to do your inner work too. It's fun when we have these epiphanies of why we are thinking and feeling and reacting in certain ways, to empower ourselves to be able to be the best service for humanity, and honoring why we're here. Things are coming, and we have to be emotionally prepared for it and understand it. But when we can easily understand how to release the density that no longer serves us because it was never ours, and ground ourselves really quickly, that is fantastic, right? That is worth it all to focus on that. So anyway, my friends, love you. Have a fantastic day.